Tap, tap. Good morning, world. Wow, I think it's been 2 years, I think, since I last posted. Didn't mean to. Back on two wheels though. Life just sort of got in the way. Been busy. Been working. Moved cities twice. I just sort of, when I quit playing airsoft because of life, I sort of lost my rhythm, and I just sort of quit recording and quit posting. But yeah, today we've got some decent weather. Well, I mean, as decent as England could get. It's winter, it's cold. Today seems to be the one day where the sky isn't absolutely horrible and gloomy. There is a little bit of sun, even though the floor is a little wet. But I love my bike and I want to ride. So let's head out. Alright, so as I was saying earlier, I think I've been gone over 2 years now, I think, since I quit playing airsoft. I quit playing because, life just got busy, moving around a lot. I was moving around because of work, relationship, and all that. But now I'm back home in Newcastle. About a year after I quit playing airsoft, I was sort of sitting around at home and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, nowadays I'm just sort of working and then I go home and I don't really do much. And I realized I lost sight of a lot of the things that I used to enjoy doing. And I'm a big tinkerer. I like to learn stuff. When I played airsoft, it wasn't really just about the sport. It was sort of about all the stuff I could learn whilst I'm doing it. That included learning how to craft ghillie suits and all that, how to tweak my guns and all. I actually enjoyed the tinkering more than anything else, more than the actual sport itself, dragging myself through the mud. And so I was just sitting at home and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm not really doing much right now. And I was asking myself, okay, so what is it that I've always really wanted to do when I was younger, but never got around to doing? One of those things was getting a motorcycle. Now, I'm 28 years old now. When I was 18 and I was still living in Hong Kong, I did buy myself a motorcycle, but I didn't pass my test. And then I moved abroad for an ex-girlfriend, and I had to sell that bike. And for the last 10 years, I've pretty much never rode. And so last year, in May, one day, I was like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna give it a go. So I booked a CBT just that weekend, and all in from the day that I took my CBT to when I went home with this bike, full A license and everything, it was about 2 months. And I've been riding this thing for about a year now, and I've been loving it. So now I've got a motorcycle, right? What now? But life sometimes it sort of still beats you down. You still get sort of distracted, and over the last year I've had the bike. I haven't really ridden all that much either. Recently, then I started doing the same thing again, where I caught myself, okay, well, I'm sort of plateauing, I'm not really doing anything. What else can I do to make these rides a little bit more enjoyable? Then I remembered, okay, well, I used to record videos on airsoft, so why not start doing it now? I tend to enjoy the process of learning stuff more than anything else. Part of that was making videos. I used to be a film student. I actually attended the Savannah College of Art and Design for one term before I quit because I wanted to help out with the family business. And that was almost 10 years ago. I never make these videos because I'm under the impression that everyone's going to watch it and, it's so cool and things like that. I want to make these things partly because they're memories for me. And I like seeing, over time, you'll get to sort of look back and see where you've been and then where you are now, and you get to reflect and sort of think about, okay, well, where do I want to be 2, 5, 10 years into the future. And these aren't just memories for me, these are memories for my family, perhaps, like maybe, I want kids in the future. Maybe I want to be able to show my kids, how cool their dad is or something like that. This is why I'm back, I sort of just wanted to try and get into the rhythm again and find my groove and see what I can do with it. To those of you who see this, who are subscribed or whatever, I don't really know how to talk about this YouTube thing, but to those of you who do see this, if you're wondering, if I'm ever going to go back to airsoft, I will. I haven't quit it completely. I still have all my gear, the rifles, the ghillie suit, All that gear is just sitting in my garage, silently judging me. So at some point, I will go back to it. But, it takes a little bit of money to sort of get up and running, and money's a little tight nowadays. Because when I like to play airsoft, I don't just like to play airsoft. I really like spending the time and making sure my gear is perfect. And it's something about being in a ghillie suit and then being stepped on. That's really, really satisfying for me. As weird as that sounds, we'll go back to airsoft at some point. But I might also try something new, like today. Spent about 3 hours yesterday setting up these GoPros and the power banks that are on the helmet and this 360 camera. Just out of the blue, and then today, I noticed the weather was good, and I decided I just wanted to go for a ride. So here we are. Right now, I'm sort of headed off to St. Mary's Lighthouse. It's sort of like my default go-to destination when I want to get away from it all. I'm always kind of terrified of these junctions, even though I've been riding about a year. You can never be too careful. I mean, I've had a couple of close calls on this bike. I've never crashed it on the road. I've dropped it twice. One time I forgot to undo my hip lock on the front wheel, and then I tried to move off, and then obviously it stopped me, and then I tipped over. The other time was when I was doing a U-turn on gravel, and I dropped it there. But luckily, I've never crashed it on the road, and I hope never to, because if I crash it, I'll never be able to afford another one. But yeah, you can never be too careful riding a bike. The last time I had a close call, well, not the last time, but one of the major ones that was really, really memorable and really stuck with me was when I was following a truck, like that one over there. And we were on a motorway. Let's just sort of slow down here first. We were on a motorway. We were just passing one of those exits and entry ramps. When we got to the entry ramp, I was following the truck quite closely. Suddenly, the truck pulled from the left lane into the middle lane, and it was like a fucking magic curtain, revealing an entire row of traffic that was standstill in the left lane. And obviously I had to react, and I couldn't stop in time. So I had to sort of weave right in between the cars, the last car that was at a standstill, that was queuing, and the cars that were on the entry ramp. And that was really, really scary. That actually almost made me piss myself. But it sort of goes to show that cannot be too complacent when you're riding a motorcycle. And I've got a lot of things that I feel like, I want to share with people. When I was doing my motorcycle tests and stuff like that, like most people, they'll go on YouTube and they'll start looking at videos and all that. Most of these videos are about the practical aspects of doing the tests. But for me, I feel like I wanted to get to know more people's experiences as they were, doing the test, how they were feeling, what they learned, and go into detail about that. I wanted to know more about, their initial experiences riding, the stuff they learned, what about gear and all that stuff. I've learned a lot about gear in the last year. It took me the better part of a year to figure out what kind of gear was right for me and my riding style, and I wish, more of this information was out there. And maybe it is, and I just didn't look hard enough. When you go on YouTube and you look at gear, a lot of the things that show up are like, gear reviews and things like that. But I'm not really looking for gear reviews, I'm looking for people to talk about, edge cases, their own very specific situations and why that gear works for them. And I think that would help a lot of people in figuring out, what works for them. They can sort of take that and then adapt them. I think that's really important. So I kind of want to try and get into that too. I don't really want to turn it into a full-on motovlogging channel or whatever like that, because I'm too fucking clueless to be any good at that. In terms of what you guys can expect in the future, I think maybe, just life stuff. I might put out some DIY things, whatever it is. I don't really, like I was saying earlier, I don't really care if anybody really watches these. I think it's just, I like helping people, showing people my experiences, and if it helps somebody, cool. If it doesn't, I hope you'll enjoy the ride as well. But either way, it's so good to be back. Just there's something about, I don't know, when you haven't done something in a while and you don't realize how long it's been, you don't realize that you've missed it until you start really getting into it again. Yesterday, as I was setting up the cameras, I was sort of second guessing myself, thinking, oh, do I really want to do this? Today, as I was getting ready, was thinking, oh man, I don't really know what to say. I don't really know what to do. Don't know if it'll be any good. Don't know if the cameras are still working. It's a lot of stress going around, you know. Like you can't escape that background stress that's in your life. But then now that I've started riding, you know, I've started, you know, speaking a little bit, getting a little comfortable. Things seem to be a little better. You know, if there's something, I mean, I guess if there's a life lesson to be learned here, if there's something that, you know, anything in your life that you haven't done for a while, go ahead and try and pick that hobby up again. You'll be quite pleasantly surprised how much it'll do to keep you from being in a rut in life, you know, because nowadays in this day and age, I think it's so easy to be in a situation where, you know, you're just kind of working and you sit home, you don't really do anything else. So it's a good way to sort of get back into it. Oh yeah, it's a little cold, but it is a nice day. You know, good sun. I think we'll get some good views at the lighthouse. Now, one thing that I've never really gotten over my fear of is leaning the bike. I think I'm still a bit of an amateur when it comes to this. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm running the stock Dunlop GT503s on this bike, but they're absolutely fucking horrible. First of all, Harley really fumbled with this bike. For those who don't know, I'm riding the Harley-Davidson Sportster S RH1250, same engine as the Pan America. From the factory, this bike comes with forward controls. Absolutely stupid. The thing is, if you think about Harley-Davidsons, right, you don't think of a little Chinese guy like me as a typical Harley demographic. And I never walked into the Harley-Davidson dealership expecting to buy a Harley. But the guy that sold me this bike, he was pretty blunt. It was like, you know what, vertically challenged guys like you, have a seat on this, and I fell in love immediately. I ended up picking one up. But even then, I've done quite a lot of things to this bike. I've put flat drag bars on it. I've put oh shit, wrong gear because I got distracted. Oh fuck. Yeah, so I put flat drag bars on it, rear sets, the Sato Racing rear sets. Those two, I think, are the most important mods for this bike. The stock forward controls, I sat on one with forward controls, and I literally could not reach them. I mean, for reference, I'm only 5'6". I couldn't reach those controls. And it just felt like you were being folded up into a pretzel, because, like, you know, your arms were kind of forward, but then your feet were also forward. It was just really, really strange. But luckily, I didn't buy it brand new. I bought it 800 miles used, and the previous owner put mid-controls on it already, and that made it a whole lot more bearable. You know, I tell people sometimes this is my first bike. Get one of two reactions. One is, oh, good for you. The other one's, well, geez, you're fucking brave. The only thing I've got to say to that is, you know, this goes both ways. You don't have to be an idiot with it. I've ridden quick, let's just say that much. I've ridden quick. After that one time, I sort of told myself, who the hell wants to ride at that speed all the time? I mean, I could be wrong, you know, it might be different on the sport bikes. I know that, you know, those things will pull like 100 miles an hour in second gear. The thing is, who wants to ride that fast all the time? It's just, anybody can go fast in a straight line. Hitting the twisties and being able to lean the bike a little bit, I mean, within reason, on the street, that's where the fun is. With a bike like this, to me, I think it's actually a really, really good first bike. I kid you not. But I guess it depends on the person. You can absolutely, well, maybe not with the wheelie control. If you're reckless with this thing, it'll get you in trouble. I don't mean just legal trouble, I mean it'll get you hurt. 121 ponies under your nutsack, this thing will get you places. It's a lot of bike, but it also feels really stable. It's got a low seat height. To me, it was literally the perfect first bike. You get a lot of people out there that have never ridden before, and actually before that, I hadn't really ridden either. I wanted a motorcycle when I was 18, and I'm 28 now. You know, so for years, I hadn't touched a motorcycle. You get a lot of people that are new riders, and to them, they might think, oh man, I'm just going to stay on the 125s for a little bit longer, get some experience. But the thing about that, it only works if you don't really have much road experience. I think if you're getting road experience for the first time on a bike, then yes, stay on a 125 because it's more forgiving. You know, you don't get in as much trouble if you whiskey throttle it, and that's pretty much it. But for me, you know, I've driven a car for 6-7 years before that. You know, road experience is not the problem for me. I can sort of focus on what I'm doing on the bike without being distracted with what's happening on the street. And I think that's why I feel like a 125 I would outgrow very quickly. I mean, like I said, from start to finish, from the day I took my CVT to when I took the bike home, it was only about 2 months. I did have 125, a WK Scrambler 125, for about 3 weeks after I did my CVT, because initially I did tell myself I'm going to stay on this for a couple of months, but then I went to the Harley Davidson dealership, and then I saw the bike, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta get this. So I pretty much put the deposit down then and there, and they held it for me whilst I was trying to pass my test, and luckily, all first time passes. The only other thing is, you know, if I were to do this again, I'd probably do one of those, there's something called like the BMW Rider School, where you can do everything in like a week-long course where they train you every single day, and you can pay a little bit more so that you have a guaranteed pass. If you pass the first time, they'll actually refund the extra that they would have charged you for a guaranteed pass. And if you don't pass the first time, well then you just keep doing the test over and over and over again until you do pass with no limit. So I think for those who really want a motorcycle, it might be worth paying for the little extra. This bike's a really good bike. Like I said, plenty of power, very stable, with the big fat tires, but there's only 1.5 inches of rear suspension. This is the 2022, or is it the 2023? I don't know. It's a 72 plate, but I think it's officially listed as a 2023. But yeah, the 2025 Sportster S has 2.5 inches of suspension travel. A whole lot more comfort. I mean, this thing bottoms out pretty much everywhere. And, you know, during long rides, oh, there you go, ow. Yeah, every little bump, you feel it. And in the twisties, even, you know, up hard side pass where the roads are sometimes really bumpy, it's not the most fun, because every little bump upsets the chassis quite a lot, and sometimes I sort of struggle to hold it online. I don't really have many complaints about the bike. There's a few scares, you know, going around online about engines blowing up and things like that. I think that's the case with a lot of vehicles, you know, like especially when the number is like, you know, 0.001% of all production vehicles or something having engines blowing up. I don't really worry too much about it. The engine tends to click-clack a little bit, makes a bit of noise, but then ever since I got the custom pipes done on it, I can't fucking hear the engine no more. As with all motorcycles, I think just stay on top of maintenance, and I reckon it'll be alright. So, we are almost there. Just a few minutes out now, I think. Oh dear God, I was worried about not having enough to talk about. Floor's dried up a little bit. As I was saying earlier, the stock tires on this bike, really not that great. The front wore out really quickly, and I've had it replaced with a Metzler, I think the 888s, Ultra Marathon or whatever they were called. The rear still has plenty of life on it, so I haven't changed that one out yet. They're still the stock Dunlops, and they're not that great. They kind of squirm, and they slip out quite easily. The traction control has sort of saved me multiple times. And the reason I know that it's the tires is because from the front tire alone, the handling of the bike has changed dramatically. It feels way more confidence-inspiring, like it wouldn't just kind of fall out from under me. But yeah. Really gotta fix this visor, though. It's always fogging up. I don't know what to do. I always feel so bad for the neighbors. Well, these aren't my neighbors, so I guess it don't matter all that much. But here in England, there is such a thing as, I'm sure it's the case everywhere, but they're supposed to enforce exhaust sound levels, but most don't care. I think most of these cops, they're just, if you're riding sensibly, they don't really care. I used to ride between Newcastle and Coventry quite a lot, and for those who don't know, that's 200 miles one way. And a lot of the times I do that ride at night. And so, you know, I like black gear, and the amount of times I've almost been hit by a car at a roundabout is absolutely unreal. I ended up putting underglow on this bike. I know it's a little tacky, you know, it's not the 2000s, why would I do that? I think it helps break up the silhouette. On a bike, any attention is better than no attention. And I don't mean that for my person, I mean for the bike. You know, awareness, any level of increased awareness for the drivers around you is a great thing. You know, when I used to have the stock exhaust on this thing, it sounded like a fucking sewing machine, and I don't think people could hear me. But then ever since I put the custom pipes on, well, they're basically straight pipes with, well, they're not straight pipes anymore, but they were straight pipes with a couple of cheap eBay baffles currently in them, and so they're still pretty darn loud. even just gently blipping the throttle when I'm trying to filter, I notice more drivers notice me sooner, peel off the side a little bit just to let me through, give me a bit of room, and that's great. And they didn't used to do that with the stock exhaust on it, and any level of increased awareness is better than nothing. And so that's why I run underglow on this 24/7. And I think, especially during the winter, I think that's when I start seeing the value of it more. It's one of those confirmation bias things, to those who don't know, it's kind of like in World War II, started looking at the planes that were making it back home, right? And they would look at those planes and examine them and then see where the bullet holes were. At first instance, you might think, okay, well, these planes that came home have bullet holes on the wing or whatever. I'm just gonna armor up those wings, beef it up a little bit, and then hopefully that will increase the survivability. But then we don't know the condition of the planes that never made it back. So really, when you have a plane with bullet holes, let's say, all over the wing, and they made it back home, that's not where you should be putting the armor. You should be, putting it in the fuselage or the cockpit, because if a bullet goes through the fucking cockpit and it kills the pilot, he ain't, making it back. So it's sort of like this, you never know what these things are going to do to help. I wouldn't know how many times this light has maybe saved me. Maybe I haven't noticed any. If I've never been hit, I'll never know. Yeah. Why is this thing not turning off? Sometimes I don't know why it does that. It's a little weird. Oh, what a beautiful day. I'll go down there for a walk, actually. It's really freaking cold, so I'm not gonna stay here for long. I think I'm just gonna go home now. But one place that I'd really, really like to swing by today is the Tyne Tunnel. I've lived here in Newcastle for about 4 years, and still haven't really driven through any real tunnels. Is that weird to say? So I'm from Hong Kong. Back home, there's a couple of tunnels that people always drive through because it's quite a hilly place. It's in order to get places. When the city was built, they had to bore through the tunnels just to build into the different areas. Whereas here in England, it's quite a flat place. Well, Newcastle, I guess. Not as flat as Coventry, though. Not many mountainous areas that they really had to bore through out of necessity. Because here, you just drive over it. Bikers always love to ride through it and rev their engines, so maybe I'll give it a go today and see if I know where it is, because I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't have a sat-nav on my bike. I've been here a few times and I've seen some of the street signs, but I don't really know exactly where it is. But I know it's down here somewhere. I've got to pull over again to fix my hair first, though. It's sort of in my eyes inside the helmet. I wonder if I can put the 2025 suspension, the shock, directly onto this bike. I'd love to. This is brutal. This place is sort of interesting and cool. I've been down this road once before, but I don't really have a sense of where I am. I've lived here 4 years. I've lived in Gateshead for the first 3. And then I moved across the river to the north. I haven't really explored anywhere until I've gotten this bike. I've been to a couple of... Oh, fucking shit. Didn't see the goddamn bump. I've been up Hardside Pass, I've been to the Keeler Forest. Still looking for more places to ride, really. I always thought these raised crossings were kind of stupid. You know, it almost feels like they're punishing the drivers. Like, you want to slow down the car before the car gets there for the sake of the pedestrians, don't you? But then they put the raised bump. Now, this is alright, you know, like, they raise it once here and then you slow down just a little bit for the pedestrians, but that other one that we just passed, oh my god, that was horrible. And they're all like that. They raise it at the point of the crossing. Like, what's the point of that? As expensive as this bike is, still cheaper than therapy. Alright, I think this is where we can get to the Tyne Tunnel from. Possibly. Not sure. Road's dried up a little bit now, so I think I'll put it in road mode. The difference between the 3 ride modes on this motorcycle is absolutely insane. God, these things are fucking brutal. Just let me through, will you? If people are more careful drivers, we wouldn't have needed all of this. Okay, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going anymore. I'm genuinely completely lost. Oh, Tyne Tunnel. There we go. Yeah. Get those heated grips on. It's a little chilly now. Oh, bumps. Ow. Waddle, 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 waddle. Like a penguin. Oh, on these roads, that's when I'm starting to get a little cold now. My first proper piece of gear are these Oxford Mondials 2.0s. I spent, what, £500 on them? Something like that. And they are not warm at all. One thing I've learned is that you cannot just buy these sort of motorcycle two-piece suits and expect to be warm enough. I mean, the reason they're so expensive is because, you know, obviously they invest in the testing and the research, not for the waterproofing, but for the abrasion resistance. You know, when you come off, you know, they test the armor and the tear resistance and all that. It makes it so that all the money is spent on, I would assume, it's spent on those materials, and so they end up just putting a cheap thermal liner inside that don't do anything at temperatures below 15 degrees Celsius. And, yeah, it's just been really cold, and something I've learned is if I want to stay warm during the wintertime, the best way to do it is windproofing. Pull the thermal liner out of this, wear some casual clothes underneath, and wear another one-piece rain oversuit under this. Over my casual clothes, but under this. And so you get 2 layers of windproofing and 2 layers of waterproofing, and that, I think, would help me stay warm a whole lot better than wearing the thermal liner on this. Oh, rainbow! Wow! What a great day. Look at that. I hope it shows up on camera as well as it does in real life. That's beautiful right there. Wow, look at that. Can't get too distracted. Again, don't get too complacent riding a motorcycle. Gotta keep an eye on where I'm going. Oh god, my fingers are freezing. I do have some thicker winter gloves, but they're in the side bag. Hello, son. Oh man, did I miss it? I think the sat nav just said go towards A1 towards the south. Oh, son of a bitch, it is taking me the other way. Oh, dickhead. Alright, never mind. Oh, what the fuck happened? What the hell is this? That's the first time I've seen it done that. I've just updated the infotainment system. What's going on? Why is it asking me for the pen? I've got the key right here. Oh, there we go. I gotta say, I mean, I've had this bike for about a year, and sometimes these Harleys are just a little temperamental. Ooh, bit of a slip there. Oh, I've got to try and close up this vent. My face is freezing. There you go. That's better. A red line a day keeps the mechanic away. We got a little bit of rain again. Once we get through the tunnel, we're gonna go home. We're getting there. Okay, that's a fair bit of reverb there. First time I've ridden a motorcycle through a tunnel with an exhaust this loud. Let's try and do a gentle pull, let these cars ease off in front. I can say I've been through the time tunnel now. Well, you know what? I started off about 2 hours ago thinking that it would take me a really long time to talk about the things I wanted to talk about today in this sort of welcome back video. As it turns out, I spent the last hour riding around trying to find the time tunnel, and now I'm on my way home anyway. So I guess I'll close it off here. To those of you who are returning, feel free to reach out. Maybe we can talk about some stuff on Discord, whether it's motorcycles or airsoft. And to those of you who are new here, thank you so much for checking in. I hope that was acceptable quality as entertainment for you today. And I hope I can be of more entertainment in the future. Thank you again for checking in, and I will see you guys again later on. Bye-bye. Ooh, smells like popcorn. What is that? Oh, it must be that. Actually, no, maybe it's not popcorn, but I don't know. Something smells really good, like donuts. Must be that Fun on the Time place by B&Q. Shit, I should have gone over there next time. I hate it when I'm driving behind something that smells like shit. I keep thinking it's my bike that's doing that, but it's not. Look after your vehicles, people. Please, don't smell like a fart on the road. Oh wow, I didn't know I could see such a nice sunset so near to my house. I want to take a walk in that field now. I want to lay down on the grass. Well, actually, no, I don't want to do that because it's wet as hell, but it is a nice view. Okay, I'm gonna need some different baffles. That is way too much. Nah, that's overkill. Those pops. I cannot be doing this in this residential neighborhood. Be sensible, Sam.